Hey you guys, today I am going to be cooking quinoa. If you ask what is quinoa, here it is. It is quinoa. Many people may pronounce this as quinoa, but not to joke, I once pronounced this as quinoa too. That's okay. This grain right here is basically a very ancient grain that many of us probably will walk right by in the grocery store. But this grain is very rich nutrient. It gives you 7 grains of protein along a lot of other nutrients that our body needs on a daily basis. So what I'm going to be doing here is trying to give some insight on how we can elevate this dish, or should I say this ingredient, to another level. This ingredient alone can be a little boring, I must agree. But what we're gonna do here is we're gonna elevate it with some simple steps, and you wouldn't want to miss. So here we go. The first thing that we want to do is measure out some quinoa. Now, what I like to do is, of course, get me a measuring cup. And if I'm going to be, just getting enough to make maybe 1 or 2 servings, then what I'll do is simply use about 1/4 to a half a cup. That's more than enough for one person. If you like a lot of more, or if you want to indulge later on, just increase these measurements. So the standard measurements that I follow is to measure out 1/4. So I'm going to go ahead and pour in 1/4 grains of quinoa. Now this is going to give me plenty, because this grain it definitely plumps up when it hits the water. So what we want to do is go ahead and rinse this quinoa. Now the reason behind it is quinoa can leave a bittery taste. Have you ever bit into something like an outside of a nut and chewed the outside seed, or bit into the outside stem of like an apple per se? It is very bitter, and that's the same taste you get from quinoa if it doesn't wash it good and do these simple preparational steps. So here we go. I'm just gonna go over to the sink. I'm gonna relocate my camera a little bit. And it's not very, hard, but I just wanted to show. So what we'll do here is I'm just gonna put it on cold. If you have one of those metal strainers, that is very good to use. But for me, I'm just gonna do it this way. I'm just gonna put the quinoa in there. I'm gonna use my hand, and I'm just gonna give it, because quinoa is very thin, or should I say, the grains are very small. So what I'm gonna do is just take my hand, put it inside the bowl here, and I'm just picking up some grains, and I'm kind of just going in a circular motion, just like this. Now, what we would notice here is that the quinoa, the dirt, or excuse me, I shouldn't say the dirt, the actual water here is becoming mercury, and that is that bitter taste that quinoa just gives off. So we just want to give it a little stir, and I want to do this maybe about 2 to 3 times. Just depends on what you're feeling that day. Sometimes 2 is good enough for me. So what I'll do is just pour it off, and I'll bring it up a little bit just so you can see how murky that is. All right. So I'm just going to rinse it off. Now doing it this way, of course, I am going to lose some of the quinoa, but it's not to worry. It's not a lot to affect the measurements. So I'm going to do this again. And for purposes to keep this video as short as I can, I'm just going to do this twice. Now if you want, you can do it 3 times or even 4 times. 4 should be, it should be enough. So I got that. Just gonna cut my water here. Pour it off. And then I have on the stove my favorite cast iron pan. Now, I'm pretty sure everybody has that one relative that will never, never, never go without a cast iron pan. My cast iron pan, I've had it for about 3-4 years, and I swear by it. So what I have here is a cast iron pan, and I had it on preheat. I preheated it. Now, something very important, but kind of overlooked is when we're heating stuff on the stove, you want to look for a olive oil that can withstand high heat, okay? Because oils like olive oil is a very delicate oil but very nutritional. So you don't want to heat that up because it loses its nutritional value and it can be toxic to the body. So I'm going to be using avocado oil, and you can use, a grapeseed oil. If you're going to be doing this on a regular, grapeseed oil is a very good oil to invest in if you're going to be just doing this. This is a little on the pricey side, and you just want to use this for stuff that you're not doing regularly or something like that. So I already sprinkled some over, okay? And what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna bring my camera up just a little bit so you guys get a closer view. Okay, so on the stove behind me, of course, I've already preheated this a little bit here. And it's very important because you don't want to be waiting, especially if, you're trying to eat. So I'm gonna go ahead and just put the quinoa in here, all right? And then of course you're gonna need, I prefer to use my hands. You can use whatever, but the best way if you're gonna be doing it this way. Now if you're using one of those metal things, the metal strainers is a little more easy than this because you can just dump it in there and that'll be it. All right, so what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna reach over and get me a spatula. It's important to get a wood spatula when you're dealing with your your cast iron pans. Anybody that own one know this. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna move everything, spread it out so that just about all of the quinoa meet the heat. Okay. Now from here it's smooth sailing. The only thing we're gonna do is just add some seasoning, and we're gonna just watch this. I'm gonna increase the heat a little bit, okay, to about 6. So that's medium, just medium. And what I'm gonna put in here is some salt. What I find to make this good is some heat, a source of heat. I'm gonna put some onion powder. And I'm gonna put just some regular salt. If I can find my salt. 1 second. Okay, so of course I'm gonna just use some regular sea salt. That's about maybe a teaspoon or whatever, maybe a little more than that. And I think there's one other ingredient that I like to use, just for a little sweetness. I use some coriander, which is basically just grind up, what's the word I'm looking for? What is coriander? It's grinded up cilantro. So what you're gonna notice here is the quinoa is gonna basically start popping, and that's gonna aid in when you start actually cooking it. Right now we're in the preparation stage, so what I'm gonna do is just give it a stir every so often, lay everything back out, give it a tap, and let it do its thing. We're gonna notice a couple things here. We're gonna notice that the quinoa is gonna start browning up. We're gonna also notice that it's gonna give us a fragrance. My tutor, my professor always told me I need to slow down and articulate my words. But we're gonna notice those things, and we're gonna notice that the water is gonna start to evaporate and it's gonna release from the pan more easy. So once we transfer it, it's gonna just slide out. So once you notice those three things, you smell the fragrance, you start to know it releasing from the pan, and you also, notice the browning. That's when you can kind of almost gauge that your quinoa is ready to transfer for cooking. Okay, so now if you can hear, I'm gonna bring the camera just a little closer so that you can hopefully hear the popping. Okay, so it's popping, it's browning up, and it's releasing from the pan when I stir. And also the fragrance is very good. So this process here, you're gonna notice that you're gonna have to constantly stir it and keep an eye on it. You don't want to leave it too long because it will burn. So once you get it to this stage where you can just pick it up and let it drop, we're gonna transfer it. What I find to be the best thing to do is to transfer your quinoa to a rice cooker, and for great reasons. The reason I say transfer it to a rice cooker is because you don't have to watch it. You don't have to sit there and stir and stir and stir. I don't know nobody who likes to sit over the stove all day. It's just common sense. So rice cookers are fairly inexpensive. And so why not, right? So what I'm gonna do is do the measurements for the water. Now, I have here some good old spring water. What I'm gonna do is, one second. All right, so the spring water, of course, I'm going to use spring water because in light of the tragedy that has happened in Michigan, that is very, very, very sad to hear, but I have really never trusted the tap water. So I prefer just go ahead, stock up on me some bottled water, probably 88 cents at Walmart, and call it a day. So what I'm going to do here, remember before I used 1/4 cups of quinoa. So a good way of measurement is when we have a 1/4 cup, is just, or any measurement that you have, is to go up 2 lines above that. Not the in-between lines, but if you have a measuring cup, so we have 1/4, so we're gonna go up to 1 cup of water. If we had a 1/2 cup of quinoa, what we'll do is go up to 1.5 cups of water. So we would go 1, 2, no, excuse me, we'll go to 1 1/4 cups of water. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and add 1 cup of water to my rice cooker. And the quinoa releases very easy. It slides. I'm just gonna put this over here. Yikes. All right. Now, if you like your quinoa a little bit fluffy, then just add 1/4 cups more of water. All right, so we're just gonna take that, put it on white rice, set it, and forget it. Okay, so here is the verdict. Rice cooker has stopped. And I'm gonna go ahead and show you the finished product here. We have fluffy quinoa, okay? If you can see that the grains have kind of fluffed up and very good. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you don't like this video, give me a thumbs up for effort. All right, until next time, peace, prosperity, and good health, you guys.